Imagine with me that suddenly all the people in the world are reduced to the size of an ant and everything in our lives is just a thought and we are making ovens and spiders among ourselves. I wonder what could happen. Will we be able to escape from the insects and live? This is today's story. But before we start, don't forget to support us with a like and subscription to see the rest of the new parts. Come on, let's start telling the story. The story begins with Beck walking in the street. There, a group of ants appears on the road. At that moment, we see Beck not interested in the insects and stepping on the ants with his feet without any interest, as if nothing happened. At that time, Beck is on his way to a restaurant that sells a snack called Tico Poke. Beck is waiting in a long line and he is the last one in line. After a while of waiting, Beck's turn finally comes. The ant is standing and it appears that there are Farouk Arbab. The mouse then decides to go out and runs around the place. As soon as he sees the mouse, he starts stealing and says, "There's a mouse in the place, help me." The restaurant owner sees the mouse and gets scared too. The waiter warns him about what's happening. The waiter tells him, "I'm sorry, I called the baker a while ago, but they haven't arrived yet." Bay tells her, "Okay, please just cancel my order." But suddenly, the guy is standing there calculating a new temperature in the place. The boy feels that his body is starting to be pulled down in a strange way, as if he's getting smaller in size. The boy screams, not understanding anything. He finds himself as if he's entering a time vortex. After that, the boy starts to wake up again. Our friend finds that he's sitting inside a strange darkness. Al-Wad is thinking and saying again, "I feel that I know this fabric, my misfortune. Don't let this be my condition." Al-Wad is really surprised that he is not wearing anything. Our friend looks in front of him and the surprise is, he comes and finds himself very small and everything around him is gigantic as if it were the size of rooms. At the time he says, "Is this a dream or what? I don't understand anything." Suddenly at the time, he finds a strange light appearing on his body, and he is wearing clothes that fit his small body size. At these moments we understand Bay's story from the beginning completely. We see that 2 years ago an era was called in Arabic for the family of our friend Bay, who is lucky Bay and his sister are living, but unfortunately, his mother and father are not living at all because of the accident that happened. Mina, Bay's sister, is able to recover after 5 whole months of the accident that happened. We know that at the time when Mina was unconscious, Bay had completely dropped out of school and was attending the rehabilitation test so that he could support himself and his poor sister. We also see that after a while, his sister starts to fall apart again and decides to write novels. The girl wrote a novel entitled How a Princess Survives in a Small World. The novel's name is not up to this, but anything is not a band. After that, we learn that Mina says that her novel talks about how all humans are reduced to the size of ants. And because of this, the mice start attacking the humans and they have to try to live. Beck asks his sister about this. The princess in this story is supposed to be you, right? His sister tells him, of course, you and I are the sister of the girl, and the one who will be the hero who will save her. Later, the next day, Beck enters to check on his sister as usual. At that moment, he finds his sister upset and crying. Beck sits next to his sister and asks her, "What happened to you?" The girl tells him that they rejected the story because her story wasn't good. Who screams and is very upset. She tells her, "I hope everything in the story is true and that all humans die." It is clear that the girl is very upset about what is happening. After a while, Beck enters the bathroom and finds her asleep. Our friend goes out of the bathroom and quickly goes down to get her the takopki meal that she loves. At that time we see everything that happened. Let's go back to the present, after Beck has grown to the size of an ant and everything has become gigantic. At that time Beck suddenly finds a window appearing in front of him. The window says that the beginner's equipment has been prepared immediately. After that, another window appears, in which the player's information is written, and that he is 19 years old. His special skill is shield and he is still a level 1 protector. Big says, "What are these strange things happening? Am I in a game or what?" The guy finds another window that appears in front of him, and it says, "Go save the princess now." Time says, "What is this a mere tube about? I don't understand anything, guys." Time then remembers his sister's novel, and that everything that happened is the same as what was written in the novel and that his sister also wrote that the baker will destroy all the people in the area at that time. A window will open in front of him. The window will also say that the minimap feature has now been activated, and the prince will be able to know the location of the princess. Our friend tries to touch the window and finds it actually moving with him. He is still unable to appreciate everything that is happening, and is surprised by everything. The boy looks at the map and finds the princess as a red dot, which is at the location of their real house. The boy says, "Right. I remembered that my sister told me that in her novel she is the princess and I am the prince who has to protect her. All the events in the novel are happening in reality. What is it about Bay that he looks around and finds people like him small?" But he notices that the restaurant owner is still large and has not been affected by anything. The restaurant owner sees our friend and the rest of the 6 customers around him. She is shocked and cannot believe what is happening. Is this real or what? But suddenly, after that, he finds that the size of the 6 has begun to shrink as well. The disaster is that the food she was holding falls from her hands onto people. People now have to boil it quickly before the hot food touches their bodies and melts them, but unfortunately, at that time we see that the food touches people who are running after our friend. People drown in the pot and their bodies actually start to melt. At that time they are suffering and crying from the amount of pain, and he comes to look at them and finds that they are completely dead. Our friend says, "I have to escape from this place now. I'm afraid something will happen to me too and I'll evaporate like the people in front of me." At this moment, he finds the lions next to him and they're still living with him. He's still thinking about going to them, and suddenly he hears a strange voice to his right. The boy looks beside him and thinks it's a disaster, but sometimes the boy is the small one and the disaster is the big one. Suddenly we see the mouse screaming, a terrifying battery, and he wants to eat the boy. He is scared and does not know how to act. At that moment he runs quickly from the place. The mouse does not leave him alone and runs after him. Also our friend, out of fear, screams and is afraid that he will die. The mouse is on top of him and it seems that he is trying to catch up with him, but he is running and scared. Suddenly, the horse finds another one holding him. The horse throws the man to the ground and ties him up with his hands, and he is unable to move at all. Suddenly the horse eats the man. The horse swallows him whole in an instant, and blood comes out of his mouth. He comes and finds the man's arm, and blood comes out of his mouth. Our friend stares at the man, and he does not know what to do. The knight looks beside him and finds our friend still standing. The knight does not wait. He screams in a terrifying voice again. He runs after the pioneers with all his might, wanting to finish him off as well, our friend. He is so terrified that he can't catch his breath. The branch is chasing him, and it looks like it will bring him down. We see on the map that the branch is outside a red dot, and inside it is a blue dot. The red dot is very close to the blue dot, which means that the branch is close to our friend. But then we see that the Farca is right behind him, and he opens his mouth to finish him off. At that moment, Bay suddenly finds a person in front of him who tells him to get down on the ground quickly. At that moment, Bay hears him and walks past him on the ground. The boy is stunned and does not understand what this man will do suddenly. Beck feels a new heat, and what at this moment we find a bit of fire passing over our friend Beck. He doesn't understand anything. Sometimes we see that the man is the one who got a bit out of the fire from his mouth and attacks the mouse with it. We find that the mouse, his name, is completely engulfed in flames from the effect of the fire. The mouse is unable to bear all this heat, and the man is continuing on him. That's why he finds him quickly running away from the place behind the restaurant kitchen. The man then extends his hand to our friend and asks him if anything happened to him. He takes his hand and tells him that luck didn't let you get hurt. At that moment he thanks him for the help and that if it weren't for him, he would be dead by now. At this moment we see two more people beside me. In addition to the other two, we find the restaurant owner saying, "I don't understand anything about what you're calculating, Frank, and how big it is. But what is happening here?" At this moment we see the old man speaking and saying, "Because of you we were all going to die. Are you happy now?" The second man replied to him and said to him, "He's in the mood, and what can he do? Should he let the mouse eat him, for example?" The man was still talking when suddenly he heard a very loud sound in the place. The sound was coming from the same kitchen of the restaurant. Suddenly we found the electric hoist coming out of there and heading towards the people. At that time the broom camera looks at our friend, considering them one of the objects that need to be cleaned. People are surprised by the giant broom coming at them at a new speed. They all quickly run away from it before it finishes them off. The broom is also very close to them. People are running, and they open an opening in the wall. Then they all quickly enter the alley before the broom catches up with them. But the disaster is that we find that the owner of the restaurant stumbles and falls to the ground. She did not have time to enter the place with them. The husband looks behind him and finds her lying on the ground. The man quickly runs to her and tries to help her. He also runs to her and supports her with him, while the two of them are trying to run quickly with her to the hole in the wall. The electric hoarding machine is very close to them. The woman is not able to bear running any longer, and the three of them are afraid that they will not reach the place. But by God, at that time they will manage to enter the opening at the last moment, and the hoarding machine is not able to enter the place. At that time, who would have thought that there was a locust next to our friends? And while we were finishing the broom, the locust came to us, but luckily for us, the broom saw the locust and cut it down, and thus they were done with it as well. Later, we saw that after walking a long time, they reached the restaurant. At that moment, they say that they have to go up to the basement to escape from the monster on the ground floor. At that moment, Beg opens the map to make sure that there is nothing strange in the place. Beg finds that in the lower part of the basement, there are some insects that might attack them. At that moment, the man with him says, "Okay, if that's the case, let's go up the emergency stairs." The best people actually go up the stairs one by one, but the problem is that the stairs are huge and very tiring to go up. In addition, the restaurant owner's leg is broken, and she won't be able to climb giant stairs at all. Beck tries to think of any way to solve the problem. At that moment, the boy remembers the message that said he has the ability to create a protective shield. At that moment, the boy tries to raise his hands up and we see light starting to appear around him. Beck is able to create a shield. After that, Bay tries to open the map to find out what happened to his sister Mina. Our friend sees on the map that she is still in the house as she was supposed to be. My mission in the novel is for him to go to the princess, so he wants to go to her quickly and finish that story. But at the same time, Dot comes to hear a strange sound. The sound is getting very close, and everyone is suddenly terrified. Everyone is surprised by the same mouse that they burned. It comes back again. The man draws his firepower. At that moment he trains a little fire on the mouse, but at that moment we find the mouse simply dodging the attack. The man is shocked by what he saw. The mouse runs away, with all his speed on people, but at that time we find Bay speaking in front of the mouse. He left his leg on the ground and raised his hands up like he did before. At that time we did not see that he could make a helmet shield from the mouse again. While he was running, he grabbed the shield and could not even touch them. But the cat doesn't calm down. He tries to attack them again, but Beck's shield is very strong. Because of this, the cat moves away again. But here comes the disaster. The people, while standing, look behind them and find a cat in the place. The cat, as soon as it sees them, steals the high simplicity and is ready to attack them immediately. All the people, from the intensity of the terror, descend the giant stairs. We find that several of them are severely injured because of the height of the stairs, and some of them might have died from the beginning. He ends up running and looking beside him and finds an old man and his wife with one eye on the ground, and next to them his mother and her son. Our friend says to the man next to him, "We have to catch up with them now, or he will kill them too." At that moment the cat attacks the people. He quickly jumps in front of them and tries to use his abilities. The cat raises its hands to attack our friend, but Hassan, who has the power at the last moment, activates his special ability, and is able to destroy everyone with him. After that, the cat walks from the place. At that time, Beck discovers that he now has the ability to create a miniature map in front of his eyes. He looks at the map and finds that the only direction that can get him out of here is the revolving gates for entering and exiting the restaurant. At that time, our friends looked at the gates and found that they were too big for them, and that it was impossible for them to pass through here at all. At that time, we saw that the rest of the people who were living were gathering with our friends. All the people were afraid of the gate. No one knows if he tries to pass through here, he will be able to live, or if the gate will crush him and kill him. At these moments we find a man telling his girlfriend that he will try to pass through the gate now. The man actually waits for the first gate to pass and quickly heads towards the gates. We see the man running at full speed and the other gate turning behind him at high speed. The man is terrified to death while running because he could die immediately, but the lucky man is able to actually cross to the other side. Thus his girlfriend's schedule also crosses. The girl actually runs with the movement of the gate at full speed. Habiba tells her to hurry up because the gate is very fast. The girl is scared and she is running. The girl finally gets close to her lover and is about to arrive, but suddenly she doesn't see that the gate is very close to her. The girl also hides under the gate. The man screams and can't believe his eyes. Unfortunately, his father died. After that, we see the old woman talking to her husband. We learn that this old woman has a special ability. If she touches anyone, that person will be able to know their future. At that time, the old woman holds her husband's hand. Then the old man thinks about the future and knows what man told her that they will stay alive if they follow the bear because he has a power that can protect them. That's why the man and his wife ask him to help them pass through the gate. Sometimes he tells them that he is using his skills to stop the gate from moving, and sometimes they quickly pass through the gate. After that, they all rush to pass through the gate. The man tells him to take a child on his back and they run first. Then they stop the gate from the other side. Indeed, after that, they both run through the gate. And because they run very fast, they can actually equal the other world. And Wathabe tells his friend the address of his house and his sister. The man says to him, "Why are you telling me your address?" And Watha responds to him and says that if my sister dies, we will all die immediately. This is because everything we are in is basically a story that my sister wrote and it turned into reality. Look, I can't understand you now. Come on, look now, open the gate and I'll explain to you later. Then, Bay uses the skill and stops the giant gate from moving. Our friend calls the old woman, his wife, and the mother and tells them to come back quickly before the gate moves again. The Taradas really take advantage of the opportunity and run from the gate, but when they see that Bay's defense is starting to weaken from the strength of the gate, Bay is struggling to keep up with the time and is unable to bear it any longer. His barrier is about to be completely broken. Then we find the child who was with them using an ability called hypertrophy. With his ability, the child makes Bay's arm endure much more. Despite all of this, we find that the old woman and her wife have not yet reached the other side. Suddenly, we see the old man's leg twisting as he runs. The man falls to the ground with his wife. The slave quickly looks behind her and sees Mama, who is staring at the ground. At that moment, we see the other man running towards them. The man said to the six, "Get on my back quickly, and I will run with you." At that moment, the barrier would have been greatly broken and would have completely collapsed. At that moment, he would have been running, carrying the six on his back. But at that moment, by God, the old man would have stood still and would not have wanted to move. At that moment, we would hear the old man saying that he had seen the future, that he was alive. But unfortunately, your son will die instead of you, and then your weakness will die too, but he will die after 3 hours, no more. The weakness says, "I will not sacrifice my son before I live. And in the end, I die too after 3 hours." That's why the old man decides to sacrifice himself to change the future. And the valley continues to live in these moments. The 6 old women, the man, and the mother have already returned through the gate. So we see the 6 old women looking behind them. She discovers that her husband did not come with her to the other side. The man puts her down for the last time before he suddenly dies. We find the shield breaking with the old woman's cries. He must have died as well. Then the scene moves to the mother telling the old woman that she also has the skill of smoking, and can make her ability much better. By God, the mother really activated her ability on the old woman. At that moment, the old woman opens her eyes and feels a tremendous energy in her body. At that moment, the old woman quickly takes advantage of the opportunity, and tries to see the future as well. The 6 see strange visions. Among these visions, they see that our friend Bay will die on the road. This one opens her eyes in shock from what she saw. It is difficult for her to explain the situation because he did not help them many times in the past. In the past, they hear the voice of someone calling from afar. Someone is calling and saying, "Everyone gather together because we will form groups for all the groups." A place in the city, suddenly we see someone flying in the air, gathering people together. The mother tells the old woman that she and her son are going with the group that produced them to the Sedank station. The lady said, "And loot with the group that is going to the village, Sore." Thus, the group that Bay was in disperses and each one goes with a different group depending on the city. At that time, the man is not happy and finds that everyone is in a group, and that there is no one left except him and his friend. But here a person comes to them and asks them if they are in a group or not. He tells them, "If you haven't joined anyone yet, then I suggest that you join our group." Manchiel told him, "Honestly, we're going to Osso City." The man told him, "Well, that's very good. We're also planning to go to the same place. If that's the case, go and wait for us there at the entrance to the restaurant. We'll leave in 10 minutes. After the man said goodbye to them, they were surprised to find that he had disappeared from the place. It was clear that he had almost the ability to teleport. Some of our friends would go to the place they agreed upon, but at that time we would see that Beck was really tired from using the skill so much. His friend told him, "I will carry you because you need to rest." The man points to his back, and at that moment he becomes very excited. After that, our friends get closer to the place, and at that moment he sees a very large number of people producing in the same area. Then the group starts moving to a Sop city, and then when the 2 of them leave the restaurant, we find that the whole city is big and everything is gigantic, the cars, the buildings, and a lot more. It is clear that the people are almost the size of an ant or something like that. At this time, we see that the entire city has been destroyed due to car accidents, because all the people have become small in size and no one knows how to control anything. The water taps are flooding the streets, the electricity is starting to be affected, and sparks are also going out. And Bay says that what is happening is impossible. Everyone is terrified by what they see at that time. The group leader says that they will now pass by Asio Station, and then come to Nibong Station. After that, the leader asks the director Joe to look for safe routes in the city. We see the man flying in the sky at one moment. All the people are stunned by his unique skill. The manager at that moment is watching the entire area from above the buildings. At that moment, he says that we must walk from the north direction because it is the only safe place from the danger of floods and electricity in the place. The official informs the people of the place they are going to, and the people feel reassured by his words. But Bay feels that he is not reassured by the man's words. Our friend decides to open the map himself and make sure. At the same time, he finds on the map that there is a pigeon nest in the area they are going to pass through, which means that there is a very great danger in the place. We are all surprised by a giant pigeon flying in the sky. The manager looks behind him and finds the flying pigeon attacking him. The pigeon actually eats the man. The pigeon swallowed him and the man died. All the people are afraid of what happened. The pigeon in this way might attack them and whatnot. The manager tries to calm them down and tells them that nothing will eat us. We are on the ground and the pigeons will not see us. The important thing now is to follow the path that the manager told us about before he died. But at that moment, Bay stops them and tells them that there is a pigeon nest on this path. And if they all die if they return from there, it's better for us to go back the other way and pass by the bank in the area. The chief said to him, "What bank and what's it like? We'll take 3 whole hours on the road while we're walking." Beck was still talking and suddenly the door closed on its own. Our friend tried to talk but it was no use. The door suddenly closed completely. "By God," the group leader said. "Leave this little guy alone. He can't even finish his words because everything he says is wrong. Just follow me now and you'll be safe." Beck then realized that this was because of the mayor's skill, which prevents anyone from opening his mouth. At that moment the door got angry and appeared to them and warned them with a sign, but the friend quickly grabbed him by the neck and told him to wait. The man told them, "You go and we'll go by ourselves." We see that Manchul keeps holding on to Beck until people leave the place. Then Beck suddenly catches him and opens the door again. Beck asks him, "Why did you stop me?" His friend told him that they won't believe him. "We don't have time for this talk. Right now we need to go to your sister's house and protect her from anything that might happen to her." At this time, Bay wants to check on the safety of the mother and her son who were with them a while ago. Our friend is looking for them on the map and finds her and the rest of the group with her. But suddenly, he sees on the map that some of them have disappeared. He looks again and finds that after a while they have suddenly disappeared again. Everyone disappears and only 2 remain. On the map, it is clear that they all died in an instant and only 2 of them remain. He comes terrified by what is happening and says, "We have to catch up with them quickly." At this time the scene moves to the group of mother and son before all this happened. At that time Yoon says to his mother, "I want to take a bath." The mother then tells her group to continue on their way, and she immediately follows them. After that, she takes her son and goes out with him to the sidewalk. After a while, the mother asks if he is done because they are in a hurry, but then it appears that the boy is hiding something. We see him grabbing her hand and saying, "We can't go there, Mom. Gassam is there and he will kill us all." The mother uses her son's words. But it turns out that the whole group died because of the poison that was in the place. The mother said to him, "How did you know?" The guard said to her, "When the reservations chief made us see the future, at that time I saw that we would all die on the way, so that's why I didn't want to. Let us continue with them." The mother hugged him at that time, continuing to suffer because he could have died from her on any path. Let's go back to now the Bay and those with him when all of this had already happened and the Bay came to him. He told his friend that it appeared on the map that the mother and her son were still alive. Shorts asked him, "So now where are we going to go?" But sometimes these two see that the road they are on is safe and most likely nothing will happen to them if they pass through here. After that, the two continue walking on the road. While they are walking, they see Duke Jawbet from the houses, so they say that their presence in Jawbet would have been much safer than what they are on now. At that time Bay said, "I am hungry and I have not eaten anything since morning." His friend said to him, "I am also, my son, very hungry. Believe me, come on, let's stop at a shop or something." Bay said to him, "Where will we find a shop from?" But at that moment he saw a shop near here. The two of them saw a broken cart in front of them. Beck quickly opens the map to see if anyone is living inside it. We quickly catch up with him. Time finds that there is actually a person inside the car and he is still alive. The two of them stand in front of the car and think about how to get all this distance. But here Beck tries to use his skill in a different way. Time uses the skill to lift them up in the air while they are standing on it. Our friends are really able to reach the back of the car. At that time he gets down under the back and pushes it with his body. They are able to enter the car. Beck looks down and finds a girl sitting on the seat, and they both quickly get down. Beck discovers that he knew this girl. Our friend tells her to wake up, Aram, wake up. The girl starts to regain consciousness and is very tired. At that moment, the girl thinks that everything that is happening is just a dream. He comes and tries to wake her up and tells her that all of this is real. At that moment the girl wakes up and is upset. She keeps looking around and looking for her father, but the disaster is that she sees her father's body thrown in the car's air conditioning dead. The girl screams as she cries and is shocked, and her whole life is destroyed, and all of this is because of the car accident because her father is small in size. After that, we see them covering her father's body with a handkerchief. The girl is sitting in front of her father upset. She starts to cry and says, "All of this is because of me. If I hadn't asked him to come and take me, all of this wouldn't have happened. I was in the clip with my friends, and when my father suddenly came to take me while we were on the road, our bodies became very small. Unfortunately I was stuck in the Amon party but he wasn't wearing it and was dying from the incident." At that time his friend Pico was patting her and telling her that now she had to take care of looking for the rest of her family, so that she wouldn't lose anyone else. The girl then starts to calm down a bit. At that moment Bay tells her, "Come on, let's go down from here first." Our friend uses his skill and creates a circular barrier under our friends. At that moment she is surprised by what she sees and does not understand what this is. Bay tells her, "Since we were small, each one has started to show a special skill. My skill is to make a barrier and I can shape it as I please, and this skill is one of the best skills I have so far because it gives me many advantages." The girl is impressed by his words about her. He tells her that she also has a skill and that she must try to figure it out. At that moment, Ram suddenly finds a window opening in front of her, and it says, "Decorative move number 1. At that moment, the girl sees an imaginary version of herself appearing and explaining to her how to use the skill. Aram tries to imitate her and does the same thing. Suddenly, the girl finds that she can move the things around her. After the girl uses her skill, she begins to feel very tired in her body. Beck told her that this is what happens naturally after we use skills, so she must be careful and use them only when necessary. If our friends were to look at any of them and find a large crow that was on top of the pole and came down on them, but the crow's luck did not notice them and it would have gone to the corpse of a dog from the dogs that died in the streets. At that time we accepted that the dog was not small in size because the curse in the novel afflicted humans, but at that time we saw many other crows flying in the sky. He found all the crows descending on the dog and they preferred to eat his dead body. He said, It is good that they have taken from us until now, and this is because they are busy with the corpses of dogs. But at that moment I was surprised by God. A crow among them was looking at our friends. Unfortunately, the crow saw them and cried. They were about to die of fear from what they saw. The crow steals a new scream and wants to eat them all. The crow started running towards our friends. He tells them to run quickly to the store. The three of them try all their speed, but the crow is behind them towards their friends. Then our friend quickly uses the barrier skill and pushes him inside the place. But at that time, Bay is not yet inside and the West is also attacking him.